If your period shows up whenever it wants, stays longer than it should, or just disappears for months at a time, your body is trying to tell you something, and most women have no idea what that something actually is. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why your period is all over the place, what's actually happening inside your body, and what you can do about it. Some of these reasons are going to surprise you. One of them affects over 70% of women with irregular cycles, and most of them never find out until years later. Stay with me, because this information could genuinely change how you feel every single month. Let's start with what a normal period even means, because a lot of women are walking around thinking their cycle is fine when it's not, or panicking thinking something is wrong when it's actually okay. A normal cycle is anywhere between 21 and 35 days, so if your period comes every 28 days, great. If it comes every 32 days, but it's always every 32 days, that's also fine. The key word is consistency. The problem starts when your cycle is all over the place, 24 days one month, 40 days the next, then maybe it skips entirely. That's when something is going on. And here's the thing, irregular periods are not just a calendar problem. They're a signal. Your menstrual cycle is basically a monthly report card from your body. When it's irregular, your body is waving a flag saying, hey, something is off. Most women either ignore that flag or cover it up with birth control without ever understanding why it's happening in the first place. So let's actually understand it. The number one reason women get irregular periods, and I promise you this is more common than you think, is something called chronic stress. Not just, oh, I had a stressful week stress. I mean, the kind of stress that sits in your body for weeks or months. The kind where you're constantly running on empty, not sleeping well, always feeling like you're behind on everything. Here's why this messes up your period. Your body has a stress hormone called cortisol. When you're stressed, your body pumps out more cortisol to help you deal with whatever is going on. But here's the problem. Cortisol and your reproductive hormones share resources. When your body is in survival mode, it sees making a baby as the last thing it needs to worry about. So it basically borrows from your reproductive system to deal with the stress. This can delay your ovulation, and if ovulation is delayed or doesn't happen at all, your period either comes really late or it doesn't come at all. This is why so many women notice that during really hard seasons of life, a breakup, a job loss, moving, a family crisis, their period goes completely off schedule. And the scary part? A lot of women don't connect the dots. They think something is physically wrong with them, they go get tested, everything comes back normal, and they're left with no answers. But the real issue is cortisol the entire time. So, if you've been under a lot of pressure lately and your cycle has been acting up, that might be your first clue. Now let's talk about reason number 2, and this one is going to hit close to home for a lot of you. Your weight. I'm not talking about being a certain size or hitting some number on a scale. I'm talking about both ends of the spectrum, being significantly underweight or gaining weight really quickly. Both of these can throw your cycle completely off. Here's how it works. Your body fat actually plays a role in producing estrogen. If your body fat drops too low, which can happen if you're under-eating, over-exercising, or both, your estrogen levels drop and your period can disappear entirely. This is really common in women who are training really hard for a sport, going through a period of barely eating, or dealing with disordered eating. Doctors call this hypothalamic amenorrhea. What that basically means is your brain shuts off the signal that tells your ovaries to do their job. On the other side, gaining weight, especially in a short amount of time, can also disrupt your hormones because fat cells produce estrogen too. When you have more fat cells than usual, you can end up with too much estrogen, which throws off the balance your cycle needs to run smoothly. Neither of these situations means you've done something wrong. Your body is just responding to what's happening. But it's important to understand that what you eat, how you move, and what you weigh are all talking to your hormones constantly. Okay, reason 3. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning, the one that affects over 70% of women with irregular periods. It's called PCOS, which stands for polycystic ovary syndrome. PCOS is a hormonal condition where your body produces higher levels of androgens. Those are basically male hormones, like testosterone. Every woman has some testosterone, but in women with PCOS, the levels are higher than they should be. And this imbalance stops your eggs from developing and releasing the way they normally would. So instead of ovulating regularly, your ovaries end up with a bunch of small, undeveloped follicles. That's where the cysts part of the name comes from, even though they're not actually cysts in the way most people imagine. What does this mean for your period? It means you might go months without one. Or you might bleed for 3 weeks straight, or you might have a period every 45 to 60 days. It's all over the place because ovulation is all over the place. Other signs that PCOS might be what's going on for you include acne, especially on your jaw and chin, extra hair on your face or body, hair thinning on your head, skin tags, and it can be harder to lose weight even when you're really trying. Here's the frustrating part about PCOS. A lot of doctors will just put women on birth control and call it a day. And yes, birth control will make your period regular on the surface. But it's not fixing anything, it's just masking the symptoms. The PCOS is still there underneath, which is why if you stop the pill, the irregular periods usually come right back. If you suspect PCOS, you want to ask your doctor for specific blood tests. Things like your free testosterone, LH, FSH, and insulin levels. Not just a basic hormone panel. And ask about getting a pelvic ultrasound to look at your ovaries. Push for answers. Let's move to reason 4, your thyroid. Your thyroid is a small gland in your neck and it controls your metabolism. Basically, how fast or slow everything in your body runs. When your thyroid isn't working right, it affects almost everything, including your period. An underactive thyroid, called hypothyroidism, can make your periods heavier and more frequent. An overactive thyroid, hyperthyroidism, can make your periods very light or cause them to disappear altogether. The tricky thing about thyroid problems is that the symptoms can be super vague, feeling tired all the time, gaining weight for no obvious reason, feeling cold when everyone else is fine, hair falling out, feeling anxious or jittery, brain fog. These things can be easy to brush off as just being stressed or not sleeping enough. But a simple blood test can check your thyroid. It's called a TSH test. If you've been dealing with irregular periods along with any of those other symptoms, it's really worth asking your doctor to check your thyroid. This is one of those things that gets missed so often, and it can make such a huge difference when it's caught and treated. Reason 5 is one that most people never think about: coming off birth control. If you've been on hormonal birth control, the pill, the patch, the ring, and you recently stopped, your period might be totally unpredictable for a while. Sometimes for just a few months, sometimes for up to a year or more. This happens because hormonal birth control suppresses your natural hormone cycle. While you're on it, your body isn't ovulating on its own. When you stop, your body has to remember how to run that cycle again, and it can take time. This is sometimes called post-pill amenorrhea, which is just a fancy way of saying your period takes a while to come back after stopping the pill. A lot of women are blindsided by this because nobody tells them it can happen. They get off birth control ready to understand their cycle and feel like themselves again, and then they go 3 months without a period and panic. The good news is that for most women, the cycle does regulate on its own eventually. But there are things you can do to support your body during that time: eating enough, reducing stress, getting enough sleep, and making sure your micronutrients are good, especially things like zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins. And then there's reason 6, which is one that's really important to name because it affects so many women quietly: perimenopause. Now, a lot of women think perimenopause is something that only starts at 50. That's not true. Perimenopause, which is the transition phase before your period actually stops, can start in your late 30s. Some women start experiencing it at 35. During perimenopause, your hormone levels, especially estrogen and progesterone, start to shift. They don't drop in a smooth, gradual way. They fluctuate, which means 1 month your estrogen is high, the next it's low, the next it's somewhere in between. And your period responds to all of that unpredictability. So your periods might start getting further apart, or they might get closer together for a while, or they might get much heavier than they used to be, or much lighter. Or you might start skipping months here and there. If you're in your late 30s or 40s and your period has started changing, even if you feel too young for it, perimenopause is worth looking into. It doesn't mean your reproductive years are over, it means your hormones are shifting, and there are ways to support yourself through that transition. So, Here's where we land. Irregular periods are almost never random. They're a response. Stress, weight changes, PCOS, thyroid issues, coming off birth control, perimenopause, all of these are real specific things that have real explanations. And once you know which one applies to you, you're actually in a position to do something about it. The worst thing you can do is ignore it, or just accept it as, that's just how my body is. Because your cycle is one of the clearest windows you have into your overall health. When it's off, something is off, and you deserve to know what that something is. If you've been dealing with this for more than 3 months, please go talk to your doctor. Ask for a full hormone panel, not just a basic checkup. Ask about your thyroid, your androgens, your insulin. Be specific. You know your body. Trust it. If this video helped you finally make sense of what's been going on, watch this one next.